Many of you found me for my meat-loving carnivore videos. I see the comments. There are people who criticize this lifestyle for its abundance of saturated fats, claiming that dietary fat clogs arteries, leading to obesity. This, of course, is their freedom, and they can continue this narrative. However, today I have blood work comparisons to add to the carnivore conversation because metrics are the only way actually to evaluate efficacy. The keto carnivore concept has resonated with me since the mid-90s when I was in high school. Cutting carbs has always been effective for my body, and today my husband Jason, who started eating a carnivore lifestyle this time last year, is sharing all. He has made incredible improvements to his health and has been able to make this new lifestyle sustainable. We are diving into why he started this diet, how his health has improved, and how he's been able to maintain it for a year now. The carnivore diet is a restrictive regimen that involves eating only animal products like meat, fish, eggs, and certain dairy products. It excludes all other food groups, including fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. This is why so many people complain about it. But is that a reason to complain? Or is this a way that we can get back to living healthier lives? Here's my husband, Jason. So what motivated you to start this diet or new lifestyle?
Yeah, I'm excited to share about this new lifestyle. I'm 48 years old, married, and father of 4 boys. My diet has never been great, but over the years, I progressively made bad decisions about how I ate. Most of the meals during the day were foods I could get quickly, just really processed foods. I've always had an uncontrollable sweet tooth and would always get snacks whenever I stopped at a gas station. Yes, I was that kind of guy. My weight kept increasing over the years. I seemed to get injured all the time when playing sports or even just working in the yard. I developed sleep apnea and started wearing a CPAP about 10 years ago. 8 years ago, I began taking Ambien. 4 years ago, I had my testosterone checked and it was extremely low. So I began taking testosterone injections every week. In the spring of 2022, my doctor put me on high blood pressure medication. Over the years, I tried many diets, and I found keto to be the most successful for me, but it was never very sustainable. I would always fall back into my bad habits, and I would start to gain the weight back.
And that's not abnormal. That happens.
It
happens on like everyone's diets.
It does, but I did like how I felt and how I looked on the keto diet. My problem is I could just never stick with it. I could do it for a month or so and then always fall back into slowly eating bad foods, more carbohydrates, and my body does not do well with carbs. If I'm being completely honest, I hated how I looked, especially on camera. I was noticeably processing and speaking more slowly. I wasn't able to keep up with my kids and their energy levels. I was a bad example for my kids. Our sex life was not epic. Clothes didn't fit or lay well on me. My skin started looking old and tired. I have the most incredibly beautiful wife, as you know, and I started feeling like a distraction when we took pictures together.
Okay, so how did you learn about the carnivore diet or lifestyle, and when did you start getting serious about it?
Well, in October of 2022, I was on YouTube watching videos on how to strengthen my tendons and ligaments. I was still recovering from a torn tricep from a year earlier. I stumbled across a video from Dr. Eric Berg where he was talking about the benefits of a carnivore diet. I've heard of this diet, but the premise of it seemed a little too fanatical and unhealthy even for me.
Well, doesn't Jordan Peterson also prescribe to this? So this was when you first started hearing about it too, right?
That's right. So I learned over just a couple of months of study, there are a lot of people, high-profile individuals who I watch online who are proponents of the carnivore diet. I didn't realize that until I started this research. Dr. Berg was someone who I'd followed for quite a while on a variety of different health topics. And so that's why I kind of had a trust in him already. When he started talking about the carnivore diet, I did perk up a little bit, even though I still thought it was somewhat fanatical.
Especially because you thought, like, how can you not have vegetables?
That's right. And I'm not necessarily opposed to not eating vegetables. I don't love them. I don't hate vegetables. But it seemed counterintuitive to everything I've ever learned in life to not eat vegetables.
Definitely opposite of the U.S. food pyramid.
Because I watched that video, other carnivore videos started getting fed to me on YouTube, and I began watching kind of out of curiosity. This type of diet did seem more sustainable to me. Lots of steak, eggs, bacon, and no vegetables. I can get on board with that kind of diet. But was it healthy or was it going to hurt me? Over the next 2 months, I kept loosely watching videos, and I was amazed at how many normal guys, kind of like me, had quick and dramatic changes, and they seemed to maintain it. So in December of 2022, I decided that I would try it for 1 month, starting on January 1st. I realized I had nothing to lose because the carnivore diet couldn't be worse than the current bad lifestyle diet that I was already living. I decided to spend the month of December learning and preparing to start on January 1st, 2023.
I was actually scared, you guys, because he was like talking about this for months ahead of time, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so much harder than keto. What was your daily meal plan like? How did you feel during this diet?
It was frankly easier to transition to this way of eating than I thought it would be. Most of my success had to do with how prepared I was. especially mentally, to begin on January 1st. During my research, I decided I could simply simplify my diet to 4 main foods: red meat, ground beef, eggs, and bacon. I did use salt with every meal and occasionally a slice of cheese on my hamburger patties.
As you guys know, if you look at my history on YouTube last year, you saw me in January and February making a lot of meat carnivore videos, and that's maybe how you guys found us. And honestly, like, that's not the main point of this channel, but it is a channel about wellness and pursuing your best life, right? And so even though like I was scared of committing to eating only meat, I was also ready to drop some weight. I felt super inflamed. We had gone away to Calistoga for New Year's and I just came back so fat and so bloated. And so I was like, okay, I really want to support this for Jason. I was already familiar with the concept, especially since we had done keto and stuff for years. And I had, back in the 90s, tried to cut out carbs. I always felt better cutting out carbs, but this seemed very scary. Honestly, I was scared. I was like, I hate setting goals and feeling like I'm going to fail. So I was excited to support him. I went and made a bunch of meat videos and it was to encourage myself. So I did 1 week straight and felt amazing on it, but I'm not a hardcore carnivore person. And I hope you guys have like realized that, but this is the person in my life who is. And so that's the reason I try to do my best to constantly support the meat only concept. So how much were you eating?
Well, it's interesting because at first I ate a lot. I didn't want myself to ever get hungry because I didn't trust myself and I feared that I would start cheating. So I just ate a lot. I found that eating fattier foods helps satisfy me more. Fattier foods are more satiating. So here's the breakdown. On the first 2 days, these days were just fine. I was so prepared. I didn't have any noticeable real changes and it wasn't super hard. Day 3, however, was great. I had more energy. I felt a little leaner. My weight hadn't really changed, only down a pound, but I felt a lot better. I had a noticeable reduction in my inflammation. You mentioned inflammation earlier. That's something that I get very quickly, but also I lost very quickly starting this diet.
So what was day 4 like?
Day 4 was bad. I felt lethargic and slow. I was hungry, and for some reason, I just craved something sweet. And I kind of thought this was the end. I wouldn't be able to make it anymore, but I decided to stay the course a little longer. Day 5 through 9 were like day 3. My energy levels were high and consistent all day. No crashes or tiredness in the afternoon. My weight started dropping every day and I noticed I was sleeping better. My cravings even seemed to get better every day. And by day 9, I was only craving my 4 foods. Wasn't getting tired of them. I was actually looking forward to those meals. Day 10 was similar to day 3. I was tired and hungry. I felt super lethargic and really just unmotivated. I even think I came home during the day from work early just to take a nap because I couldn't do anything. However, day 11 through the end of the month of January, my energy levels were back to high all day. I slept so much better. I felt better than I probably have in my entire life, if I'm being honest. And I was actually proud of myself for accomplishing it and doing it for a whole month.
Yeah, I noticed these same changes in you. I was really proud that you stuck to your goals and had this incredible success. But you didn't stop. You decided to continue for 2 more months. When you decided to continue, I was nervous. I was proud of you, but I was also like scared for myself because I was like, oh, he's like really committed. And like, honestly, if you're in a family situation and group community eating, right? Like, it does become a little daunting. And that's the reason I tried to make videos on how we could kind of like navigate that, because we have 4 boys and we do think that them eating more meat is better for them. And they've seen great changes as they've done this too. But obviously, like, we don't want to be super restrictive with our boys. And I'm a person who doesn't like restrictions either. I do like jumping into things and trying them. But when he wanted to do like a longer scenario with this, I was like, oh man, are we really on board for this? So what specifically caused you to make that decision to continue? And do you still have concerns about the long-term effects of such a restrictive diet?
There were really 3 factors that motivated me to continue. The first one was how I felt. I felt great, and I didn't want to go back to the way I felt before, feeling tired and slow all the time. Second, I felt like I looked better. I lost quite a bit of weight, and my clothes just laid on me better. I felt much better going out. And third, blood work. A few days before I started this diet, I had a full blood work done. I needed to measure what was going on inside my body. I did another blood work at the end of January to compare. My doctor was in shock at the changes in only a few weeks. My LDL cholesterol was high at the beginning of January, but came down during the month. of really only eating meat. My testosterone shot up. My estrogen was low, but came up during that month. Nothing in my blood work at the end of January was worse than the beginning, with really almost everything evening out or showing quite a bit of improvement.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything in that 30-day experience that would lead me to believe that this was hurting me or causing me any kind of problems. Because you and I planned a trip to Bora Bora at the end of March, I decided to continue this for a full 90 days just to see how fit I could get for our trip.
Okay, so everyone wants to know, how much weight did you lose? What specific physical or mental changes did you observe? And what kind of measurement tools have you been utilizing to track your progress?
I purchased an in-body scale to measure my weight, my muscle mass, and my body fat percentage. When I started the Carnivore Diet on January 1st, 2023, my weight was 202 pounds. My muscle mass was 68 pounds, and my body fat percentage was 29.7%. Not proud of those numbers. Keep in mind that I'm 5'2", so that weight of 202 is pretty significant on my frame.
And you know, I like to talk about proportion here on this channel.
I was a proportionate bowling ball.
You were unproportionate. Okay, so at the end of the month, what did you get to?
On January 30th, my weight was 187, so I lost 15 pounds. More significantly, my muscle mass was at 69.2 pounds. I gained 1.2 pounds of muscle. I did go to the gym really hard during the month, and I lifted weights, which I do love. And I believe that's a significant aid in the progress that I made, not just the carnivore diet, but in conjunction with weightlifting and exercise.
Well, and your body fat percentage went down, almost 5 percentage points.
That's right. So my body fat percentage at the end of January was 25.1%, down 4.6%. And in reality, that's the most important figure here. I do want to keep my muscle up and increase like all of us do. But really, the most important thing here is my body fat percentage. Weight is subjective. Body fat percentage, though, can tell a true story.
So what are your metrics for the following months? By the end of February, so 2 months in, what were your new stats?
Okay, on February 28th, my weight was 166, down another 21 pounds. So in the month of February, I lost 21 pounds. My muscle weight was at 70.9 pounds, up another 1.7 pounds. And my body fat percentage was down to 22.3%, down another 2.9%. On March 31st, 2023, right before we left for Bora Bora, my weight was at 154, down another 12 pounds. My muscle mass was at 72.6 pounds, up 1.7 pounds. My body fat percentage was at 18.6%, down another 6.7%.
Well, that was a massive drop in that month of body fat percentage. That's your biggest month so far, 6.7%.
That's right. That was a big month. I lost a lot of weight. I gained a little bit more muscle that month and had more significant decrease in my body fat percentage. And when I was putting these stats together, I thought back on why that was the case. Usually people lose a lot more in the very beginning. I believe that as my body adjusted, my muscle started working a lot better. My muscle started to grow again. And I think that added muscle that I was getting helped to burn more fat. So eating a carnivore lifestyle and weightlifting compounded with each other to help my measurements improve dramatically.
Okay, so these stats are amazing. So for his 90-day carnivore sprint, and I think a lot of people who might be interested in this might never be able to commit to an entire year. In his 90 days, he lost 48 pounds of fat, increased muscle by 4.6 pounds, and dropped a total body fat percentage of 11.1%. Those are huge figures to do in 90 days. And you weren't using any drugs, peptides, anything like that to help encourage any of this, correct?
No, correct. I didn't take anything during that time. Matter of fact, in a moment, I'll talk about how I got off of a lot of the medications that I was on.
Now we're 1 year out. So what are your stats currently?
Well, as of December 31st, so a week ago, my weight was 155.7. My muscle mass is 72.8, and my body fat is 19.2. Very, very similar to how I ended on March 31st. So I've been able to maintain my measurements from the end of March till the end of the year. I tried a variety of things during this time period. I was mostly carnivore, but I took a lot of liberations with that. I tried some variations of the carnivore, and there were times that I was just not on it at all.
Like when we were in Bora Bora, he didn't worry about it. And I think that's important. When you go somewhere amazing or you're on a family trip, you don't want to feel so restrictive. At least for me, and maybe you too, but for me, when I travel, I want to eat. I want to experience the food. I want to try different places. And I don't want a lifestyle or a diet holding me back from that.
That's exactly right. One of the reasons I wanted to do this diet was to find something that I could do for most of my life, but have my body prepared so that I could enjoy the times that we go out.
So essentially, after March, you cycled on and off to try to maintain and see how you felt.
I did. And I haven't seen anybody else talk about this very much. For me, cycling on and off has been pretty amazing. I would go weeks at a time where I just didn't do carnivore very well. What I found was that when I would get back on, within 3 days, I would significantly lose weight, inflammation, and kind of be back on track. I'm able to get back control much quicker than ever in my life before. There are times we've gone out, or even here at home, and I pounded the dessert, and sometimes 2 days in a row.
I made a lot of cookies over Christmas.
She did. And sometimes I would get worried that that would cause me to fall back into old habits. And maybe they would for a few days or maybe even a week at a time. Again, what I found was because I did that carnivore diet for so long, for a really strict 90 days, I found that when I do get off of it and then get back on, it's much easier to start again. I don't have the withdrawals. I don't have the cravings. And really within a day or two, I feel like I can be completely back on. And even my calories decrease almost immediately. My inflammation decreases almost immediately. And I've taken a lot of strength from that because there are certain times that I did eat really bad, but my stats show at the end of the year that I'm exactly where I was at the end of March. And I did eat really good during a lot of this time, and I had times that I didn't.
I think so much of the carnivore diet is a mental thing. And I think that 90 days helped him feel really secure with it. And so the idea of going back on it after a cheat doesn't feel so debilitating. And you don't have like the same fear about it because you're like, I've done this before. I like eating these foods. It's not hard. And you see the progress and the success so fast that I think once you get through that first phase, you feel much better about the cycling.
That's right. A lot of healing happened during that first 90 days and even since then while still doing the carnivore diet, physically, mentally, emotionally.
Okay, let's look at your blood work because that's where you can really see some amazing changes, right?
Yeah, proof's kind of in the pudding. Maybe I look different in the mirror, but what's the inside of my body doing?
So let's examine Jason's cholesterol.
This is the biggest question I get. Your cholesterol must go crazy. When I started the carnivore diet in December of 2022, my HDL cholesterol was at 48. Optimal is 60. In August of 2023, so after 8 months, my HDL cholesterol was at 64, which now is back to standard. In December 22, when I started, my triglycerides were at 69. Optimal is below 150, so I was good there. In August of 2023, they were at 78. So they rose a little bit, but still in really great shape. And then the big one, the LDL cholesterol.
The bad cholesterol.
The bad cholesterol. So in December when I started this diet, again, you have to remember that the optimal is less than 100. Mine was at 193. So my bad cholesterol was bad. It was very, very high. In August of 2023, after 8 months, it was at 110. So yes, my LDL cholesterol is a little high. However, after being on the carnivore diet for so long, it has come significantly down. I have another blood work scheduled for 2 weeks from now, so I'm very curious to see what's happened in the last 5 months.
Okay, next let's evaluate your testosterone.
Well, normal range is 300 to 850. In December of 22, mine was at 724, and that's with me taking 1 unit of testosterone every week. In February of 2023, it jumped to 1245. So my doctor had me cut my shot in half to a half unit at that point. In April, did the testosterone test again, and it was at 1435, so it jumped even more.
But he wanted you to maintain your current dose.
That's right. He told me to maintain my current dose because he thought that things might even out a little bit, and we didn't want to make too many changes with my prescription. In June of 2023, it kind of maintained, and it was at 1424. So my doctor had me cut it in half again. So now I'm only taking a quarter unit. In August of 2023, it was at 842, which is right on the high end of the range. So we decided to keep my shot at a quarter unit going forward. So dropping from a full unit to a quarter unit is a significant drop in my weekly injection of the testosterone.
Okay, what about your glucose levels?
Okay.
Because blood sugar is so important and it's why you store fat.
That's everything.
So how much sugar is in your blood?
Well, again, normal range is 65 to 139. In December, when I started, it was at 158. So it was high, not surprising. In February, after 1 month, it dropped to 73, almost verging on a low. In April, it was at 81. In August, at 79, and it's been pretty steady in that area ever since. My biggest takeaway is that I was able to lose a significant amount of weight, 48 pounds, but increased muscle during that same period, 4.6 pounds.
Yeah, that's huge. So many people think that like when you diet or change your lifestyle eating, you're going to compromise so much muscle, especially on the carnivore diet when your appetite really decreases. So the idea that you were able to keep lifting and increasing is really incredible because you really weren't eating that much.
I had a lot of noticeable changes during this time period. I would say the very first, most noticeable thing was how much less hungry I became during the process. process. At the very beginning by eating just a lot of food every day, but within weeks, my appetite lessened and I began naturally intermittent fasting. I'm this guy who has to have breakfast. If I didn't have breakfast, then by 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting shaky and weak and I can't think. So I never thought I could ever give up breakfast. And I never intended to give up breakfast. On this diet, I started naturally not being hungry and waiting later and later. I stopped eating breakfast altogether and just maybe because I didn't feel like it. And I would start getting hungry or start looking for food around 12 o'clock or 1 in the afternoon. The big noticeable change was inflammation. It decreased within the first 3 days and has not returned ever since. Everything works so much better. I feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my joints. Everything is so much more loose. And without that inflammation, I just move better and sleep better. I found that my muscle recovers so much faster. In the beginning, I would be so sore at the gym. And I found after a couple of months that I would have to work out harder and harder just to get sore, just to feel that pump.
What about your energy?
My energy level is the best of all. Some people talk about on a carnivore diet, they'll have a euphoric feeling. They'll have days of just euphoria. I never had that. But I will say that my energy levels increased and were high, but they were steady all day long. I was able to maintain that consistent energy from morning to night.
And that's basically because your blood sugar is so stable. You're not having any spikes from carbs that would cause you to have an increase, and then your insulin needs to store away, and then you feel sluggish.
I think that's right. Not having those euphoric days, I think, is a good thing. Keeping energy levels high and consistent, I think, helps your body to regulate so you're not wearing out by the end of the day.
What about your cravings?
I've learned better control. I can still walk by a donut and know that that would be amazing.
You can buy me donuts and not want them.
That's right. At the office, guys would buy donuts and I would walk by, and in the past, I would be that guy that I would have to have one. And then when no one was looking, I would quietly walk back in, put the box very quietly so no one could hear it, and take another one and maybe a third. I didn't want them to know it was me. Everyone knew it was me.
Closet eater.
Closet eater. But I could not physically not have a donut, especially a chocolate glazed. But now, even though I know that donut would be so amazing, I don't have to have it anymore. And I truly do feel this high afterwards by using the strength that I've gained and not eating one. It feels great. My sleep has improved so much. It's really hard to explain. I was able to cut my Ambien in half after 6 weeks. This is significant because for the last 8 years, I have not been able to cut it in half at all. I've tried numerous times. I've tried not taking it. I've tried cutting it in half. Always in the middle of the night, I wake up and I just have to have the other half.
It's actually concerning because the way Ambien prescriptions work, they only give you 30 pills. So when we're going on trips and stuff, Jason would try to get a prescription ahead of time to pick up. And the way they regulate Ambien, he couldn't. And so it was this very almost stressful situation when we travel, because if he was in the middle of a prescription expiring, he couldn't pick up. And so we started buying Ambien in Mexico and online just to have an extra stock because the Ambien prescription can't be picked up early.
That's right. It was very stressful. So cutting it in half extended my prescription. And also, I do want to get off of it. A lot of people have some negative side effects on Ambien. I don't have any.
Except Amazon shopping.
For some reason, when I start taking Ambien, if I don't just close my eyes, I grab my laptop and I order stuff on Amazon. Things that I wanted were in my cart, but I just don't remember doing it, and they suddenly show up.
Boxes just arrive.
Present. Yes, present for me. The next big thing was my blood pressure. I ended my medication after the first 3 weeks. That's right. On the third week of January, I stopped taking blood pressure medication because my blood pressure was normal. And I have not been on it since. And my blood pressure has been perfect for the last year.
So I guess those saturated fats and triglycerides aren't clogging your arteries.
They did something to my body and now they're gone. And so my blood pressure is normal and stabilized. I noticed my skin started looking more smooth and more hydrated. My brain, I noticed I can recall things more quickly. I talk faster. I noticed that I have overall motivation to do things, especially at night. Before starting the carnivore diet, I was just so exhausted at night. I didn't want to do anything. And now I find myself, really sometimes I'm just finding something to do. Maybe it's cleaning a drawer out in the kitchen or some random task. But the point is that I do have this overall motivation that I haven't had for a very long time. And I contribute all of that to just how I'm feeling. That continues to get better as time goes on. I feel like I'm still healing. I feel like my body and my brain are still improving over all this time. And I'm excited about the next year and the improvements that I'm going to make. I don't know if Kim thinks this is a positive or a negative, but my libido is in overdrive. And it has been for a long time since starting this carnivore diet. I do believe that's a healthy aspect of being healthy. Another thing is I never get gas. And I don't mean very rarely. I never have gas. When I'm on a carnivore diet, people ask me, I must be bad. No, I just don't have it. I have none. It's an odd side effect, but it's a good one. Noticeable negative changes. I would get cold. During the month of February and March, I had to take a hot bath every night just to warm my body temperature up. I'm always that guy that's always really hot. Kim's cold all the time, and I'm just always a furnace. But after about a month, I was always freezing at night and needed to warm up. That's gotten better since then, but not not perfect. I'm much colder than I normally am. Even now, even last night, I was asking my boys, they felt cold in the house. I was freezing and everyone else was just fine. So I don't know, my body's colder now.
It's a good thing though, because I always have a warm bath in the winter ready to go. What's another negative side effect of the carnivore diet?
I had to repurchase all of my clothes. And I don't mean some of my clothes, I mean all of my clothes. All of my shirts, pants, everything had to be repurchased.
We have to get you a new suit, a couple suits for church.
I haven't purchased a brand new suit yet. I haven't been wearing a suit, but now I'm ready to buy one. I didn't want my body to change a whole lot more still. But I think that where I am now is significantly where I'm going to be.
Yeah, you might get a little bit leaner. Your muscles might get a little bit bigger, but this is where you're going to kind of stay.
That's right. I hope to still lean down more. I hope to still build more muscle, but I don't think my overall physical look is going to change. So we're going to go suit shopping next week.
Good. Okay, so every diet has its challenges. What were some you faced and how did you overcome them?
In the beginning, I was concerned about being put in situations where I wouldn't have my food options, whether they were at social events or at a friend's house. I didn't want to be that guy who would show up and draw attention to this fanatical eating lifestyle. I wasn't embarrassed by it. I just didn't want to put other people out because of the way that I ate. I decided that if I were ever put in that situation, I would eat what was there and focus mostly on the meat or as much as possible. And I would have small portions of everything else. One meal wouldn't ruin my diet. I did find that as we would go out, most restaurants would provide something on the menu that would work with me. I learned quickly to modify, and I could almost always get a perfect carnivore meal. At home, Kim was wonderfully supportive. She always made a protein with dinner and would make 2 versions if needed. One for me that was clean, no sauces, and another that was for everyone else. I don't believe it was ever too inconvenient. Well, what do you think?
Just me cooking is inconvenient. But yes, when I get in there, it's not hard to do 2 versions.
What we started doing a lot of was grilling and barbecuing and smoking out there on our smoker.
And doing it in mass batches so that there was a lot of options that were just salt, no sauce in the fridge, ready for you to microwave and eat. And also for our boys take the meat in their lunches to school like every day. They love it.
That's right. And Kim nailed it. We always cook extra steak or chicken and we save it for me. We always have a quick go-to in the refrigerator. The whole point for me was finding quick solutions that were convenient because my biggest problem in the past with processed foods was they were convenient. I could stop at a restaurant, a gas station, and not take my time. Now I just make sure that I always have something available in the refrigerator that I cooked the night before.
Bacon bags.
Bacon bags instead of popcorn at the movie theater. That's an inside trick.
I love bacon at the movie theaters. Okay, so you've done this diet for a year. What has been the hardest part? And what are your plans going forward? Do you recommend this to others?
As mentioned earlier, I've had times during the year that I wasn't as strict. I've had meals that I just went all in on or even pounding a lot of dessert. The hardest part for me is the fear that I'll revert back to my old lifestyle when I didn't have any kind of control. I know the potential is there to fail really hard. And I do worry that when I start to slip for too many days in a row that I might lose some of that power and control that I've gained. I'm happiest, honestly, when I'm most strict.
You find a lot of power in the strictness.
I find a lot of power and ease in the strictness. When I said I had 4 foods only when I'm really strict on carnivore, I'm not kidding. Red meat, steak, ground beef, hamburger, eggs, and bacon. And some combination of that for me was incredibly satisfying, and I never got bored of that. Moving into 2024, I plan to continue a strict carnivore diet for at least the first 90 days. I've set new goals. I want to get my body fat percentage down to 12% while trying to maintain, if not increase, my muscle mass. I know it's difficult to hold muscle mass when you're losing weight and by losing body fat. I did it earlier. I hope to do it again. Once I achieve this goal, I'll reassess everything and make a new plan. Am I a carnivore for life? I don't know. At least some version of it. When I get to 12% after the first 90 days this year, I plan to reintroduce some vegetables, some complex carbs back into my diet and see how my body does. Can I maintain that 12%? Can I maintain the muscle mass by eating potato, by eating more avocado or broccoli? It's going to be a test I'm going to do one at a time just to see how those things affect my body. Do I recommend this to others? I get that question a lot. In the beginning, I would say, I don't know, it worked for me, but it's really hard for me to say if this is good for anybody else. But now I say, absolutely. I did my blood work 7 times during 2023, and each time I saw an improvement somewhere. My doctor says that my blood work from January compared to October was like a completely different individual, a much younger one. I'm off all medications except testosterone, but that has been reduced to a quarter dose from when we began this journey. I still have slight sleep apnea, so I do wear my CPAP, but we've turned the pressure down to its lowest setting and I hope to be off it this year. I can now actually sleep without it, unlike the past. and I sleep just fine. But I do snore a little, so I wear it for Kim's benefit.
You will always wear a CPAP.
That's right. Nothing in my experience was negative. I believe anybody could find benefits with this lifestyle.
Any final thoughts or advice for others interested starting this journey? Because it is the beginning of the year, and I'm sure lots of people are looking into this and trying to get motivated.
First, I want to stop calling it a diet. This is my lifestyle, and I hope to embrace it even stronger in this new year. I am truly a different guy from when I started. I look physically completely different. I'm self-aware of how much better my brain processes and recalls information. My spirituality is increased, and I feel closer to God. Part of that may be because I feel better about myself, but I certainly feel more in tune on a spiritual level. I feel socially more confident around others, and especially on camera, which I know is a big benefit for our family. I feel like a better dad because I have more energy and more motivation to do really anything with the boys. But now I'm motivated to do whatever I can with them whenever they want to do it. I feel like I've given my wife something new to be proud of. My sex life has never been better.
I appreciate you jumping on the channel with me today and sharing this. As you guys know, we've made carnivore videos over the year, but I wanted to give you, again, more insight because I'm not a carnivore, right? Like I dabble in it and I think there is so much benefit to it, but it's really not something that I am fully committed to. But I wanted to share Jason because he has been, it's made incredible changes for him, not just in his appearance, but like he said, socially, mentally, physically, his blood work is better. He's off medications. And so I think that whatever lifestyle you choose, this one has been super effective and it's quick. And I think that's one of the things that's helped you stay motivated on it too, because it's not one of these long drawn out processes before you start feeling the inflammation go away or start feeling the weight drop. I think also it's simpler. Yes, you might batch a ton of meat, but you're not doing like meal prep containers all over the place, like, and all of these like sweet potatoes and rice and trying to get your macros in order. Like that's a lot of work. Granted, bodybuilders can do that. People who are getting ready for bikini fitness competitions can do that. And they have a motivation because they're getting on stage. But when we talk about real people just wanting to feel better in their skin and feel healthier and feel better in their relationships, I think carnivore has been a huge success. And that's why I was excited to wrap around this year and share this whole journey that he's done in the last year, but also give you guys real insight. I know there's a lot of purists here, and I know that people will come and be like, well, he's not really real carnivore if he's cycling on and off. But you guys, like, we're individual people, and some people are crazy obese and super insulin resistant, and maybe they have to stay on carnivore 24/7 because that's the only thing that works for them. But I want to be able to share with you guys a more realistic concept that does work. And this 90-day sprint that he did last year really set him up for success in 2023. And I think the proof is in the pudding of the blood work. So let us know if you guys are motivated to try carnivore, if you've been on it and you felt similar to Jason. We love reading your comments. We love connecting with you guys and sharing in these victories. Remember, you are not a victim. You are the master of your ship. And any day you can choose to empower yourself towards a better you. We'll see you guys on the next video.